going to be a great day hanging out in the kitchen with Grammy and the day in the life. Good morning, family. If you're new here, welcome. I just want to say this is a beautiful, cloudy, overcast Sunday morning. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. I've been up for about an hour and a half and sipping on my coffee, but I had made pizza dough yesterday. I want to go ahead and get the pizzas made so I can get those in the freezer. Also picked up a half gallon of milk, and I have yogurt in there. It's been in the Instant Pot overnight. I have videos on both of these items if that's all you're interested in. How to make your own frozen pizzas and how to make good quality yogurt. But I just want to say thank you very much for hanging out with me today as we get a day in the life with Grammy. So we're going to start this day off by making our pizza sauce, and we're going to use our home canned pasta sauce and just dress it up a bit to make a pizza sauce. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around. Aprons on. It's going to be a great day. First pizza is going to go in the oven. So I had someone leave a comment and wanted to know why I only put half the sauce on the pizzas when I part bake it, and then when I take it out I add more sauce and then I add the cheese. They were just asking why I put half on it par baked and then half before I put it in the freezer. And the reason is tomato products is high in water. If I were to put all the sauce on it to par bake and then stick it in the freezer, and then when I take it out of the freezer I put it back in the oven to finish cooking it so we could enjoy a pizza, is that so much water is in tomato products that it will evaporate from the first bake before I can bake it again. So I split the sauce up into halves. So when I par bake it, any water that gets evaporated from the first cooking, and I add more tomato sauce to it, and then I put it in the freezer, and that way when I cook it the second time, if it evaporates any more water, it's going to come from the second batch of the tomato sauce. I hope that makes sense. I just don't want a dry tomato tasting pizza sauce. I want it to be moist and delicious with some liquid in it. So that's why I divide my sauce into two. You can do whatever suits your family, but this is what suits us and this is the way I do it. So I do appreciate the questions, but the reason I divide the sauce into half is so it doesn't evaporate 100% initially. Does that make any sense to you? See how much it dehydrated? I don't know if it shows very well on the camera, but this is just the tomatoes. There's no water left on it. That is the reason I half the sauce par bake and then half the sauce before I freeze it. This is 2 pounds of mozzarella that we shredded when we got our Azure order last month. So 1/4 of this, so about a half a pound, will go on each pizza. Put as much or as little cheese as you like on yours. This is just perfect for us, so that's why we do it this way. Right. So this is the last pizza that's rolled out. Third pizza's in the oven. 2 pizzas ready to go in the freezer are behind me. But I do save my freezer bags for future pizzas, because they are oiled and ready to go. So I'll just stick this in the freezer until the next time we need to make pizzas. If you have kids in your house and you buy frozen pizzas so they can have a quick, easy, convenient, throw in the oven, cook meal that they can take care of themselves. Or if you have a pizza night every week, such as a pizza Friday, and you go to your local pizza place and you buy a pizza, take that cost in your mind. Now, think about the ingredients. You cannot, as a mom or a dad, control the ingredients on either store-bought frozen pizzas or your local pizzeria in your neighborhood. You can't control the type of flour they're using. You can't control the type of sugar they're using. You don't have control over what's in the sauce, where the tomatoes coming from, where the garlic is coming from. You have no control over the ingredients in either store-bought frozen pizzas or local pizzerias. I'm not saying don't buy them, but just think of alternative ways that you can still enjoy pizza in your home with real ingredients. All the ingredients that I use to make my pizza are purchased through Azure. You saw the video where we made pasta sauce and stuck them in jars. All those ingredients were purchased from Azure. Our pizza dough, the flour, the yeast, the sugar, the oil, is all purchased from Azure. Quality ingredients. The cheese, we bought 2 5-pound bricks of mozzarella and we shredded it together. And we put it in Ziploc bags, either 2 pounds or 1 pound, depending what we're going to use it for. This is a 2-pound bag because I know 2 pounds is what I need to make 4 pizzas. So all of these ingredients were purchased through Azure. All of the ingredients are whole ingredients to make a nutrient-dense meal. Now I did some math. And although I buy my flour in a 50-pound bag flour, I can't break that down to come up with what 8 cups would cost. But we're just going to say a couple bucks. Between the sugar, the oil, the flour, and the yeast to make the dough. Now the mozzarella we bought 2 10-pound bricks. And that was $60.24. Break that down into a 2-pound increments. And it was $6.02. Break that down into a pizza. There's $1.50 worth of cheese on each pizza. The sauce, when we canned that sauce, I did the math on that and it came up to $3.54 a quart. We use 1 quart for 4 pizzas. So if you break down $3.54 divided by 4, that's 81 cents worth of sauce on each pizza. So if we take our $1.50 for the cheese, 81 cents for our sauce, and we'll say $1, we'll give it the $2. $2 for the crust. So $1.50 for the cheese, 81 cents for the sauce, and 50 cents for the pizza crust. That's $2.81. So this pizza It's about 12 to 14 inches. Cost me $2.81. Depending on your family size, you can either use one or multiple pizzas. But even if you have to buy 2 or 3 14-inch pizzas from your local pizzeria, or you buy 2 or 3 frozen pizzas from your local grocery store, and if you do that weekly, take that number that you pay for frozen pizzas or your pizzerias, multiply that by 52 weeks in a year. That is how much you are spending on pizzas that is not the best quality, that is not nutrient dense for your family. Mine is $2.81 per pizza. If I were to multiply that by 52 for 52 weeks in a year, we'll say $147. Local pizzeria in my area for one pizza is about $20. Mine's $2.81. The grocery store, I haven't bought a frozen pizza in over 2 years, so I don't know how much they are. But a good quality, good tasting pizza is going to be about $5 or $6 for one. Ours is $2.81. So go to Azure. The link will be below. Check them out. Get the ingredients you need to make your own frozen pizza. Do like I do. Make the dough the day before. Put it in Ziploc bags. Stick it in the refrigerator. Let it rise overnight or for 24 hours up to 48 hours. And then when you're ready to make pizza, all you have to do is stretch the dough out, add some sauce, add some cheese. Do it your way. The way I do it is I add some sauce, par-bake it, then I add more sauce, cheese, and I stick it in the freezer. And I have ready to cook frozen pizza at the ready at any time. So I got the 4 pizzas all wrapped up. They're going to go in the freezer. I have 5 of the cardboards that I reuse over and over again to stabilize the pizza in the freezer. And when we cook them, we just put one on top of the freezer. And when I know I have 4 up there, that means I only have 1 pizza left in the freezer. And that's when I make more pizzas. I don't wait till I run out. I get down to 1. I have 4 boxes. And then I remake. So this is the one I have left in the freezer. That is going to go right on top of the new ones to make sure that gets used first. And just like that, we have 5 pizzas in the freezer. If you don't mind, leave a comment below and let me know if you do pizza one night a week. And whether you make it homemade at that time or if you buy frozen pizzas or if you get it from your local pizzeria. And then take that cost, however you do your pizza routine, take that cost and multiply that by 52. Leave a comment below and let me know how much you spend on pizzas yearly. So I went ahead and made some yogurt, and I did forget to add the powdered milk to it. I didn't realize it until after I boiled the milk and then let it cool off and added my yogurt starter. I realized, and I forgot to add the milk powder. But that's okay, we're going to use it anyway. So we need to save our starter for our next batch and go ahead and sweeten and flavor it and get them in jars. We're going to go ahead and scoop out our starter. It's a little runny, but that's okay. That's our starter. So this is vanilla. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. We're going to add 3 teaspoons of maple syrup. It's a little loose, but that's my fault because I forgot to add the milk powder. I have 7 old peanut butter jars where we're going to add the yogurt. We'll go ahead and turn this one into a parfait. Put some granola in there. And that way we have a yogurt we can eat later today. Alright, so let's go ahead and break the cost of homemade yogurt. Now I do buy a more expensive quality milk, but you can use any kind of milk you like. If you watch the video on why I use the milk I use for my yogurt, there's actually videos on that. But I do have a reason why I use it. I'm not a milk snob. I just have inflammation problems with my joints, and the A2A2 organic milk does not bother me with inflammation. But if you can use the cheaper store-bought milk, by all means, please do. Now each one of these are more than what you get at those little 6 or 8 ounce containers of yogurt at the grocery store. So there's more in here. But to get 7 of these from the milk that I buy, this costs 64 cents. 64 cents, and I know what's in here. I know the quality of milk, I know the quality of the maple syrup, and I know the vanilla. Vanilla I make myself. I just buy the vanilla beans from Azure Standard, and I put it in some good quality alcohol. I either use vodka and rum. Sometimes I'll use the Tito's vodka, and sometimes I'll use the Captain Morgan spiced rum. And I just put my vanilla beans in there, and I make my own vanilla. I let it sit on the shelf for about a year before I decant it. So this is homemade vanilla. Vanilla beans were bought from Azure Standard, and the alcohol I just got from the local ABC store. The maple syrup, I buy it by the gallon, and I get this from Azure Standard also. So this is a organic maple syrup, dark and robust. And I just take this gallon, I pour it in here as I need it, and I have maple syrup. Now the thing about maple syrup, if it's true, real maple syrup, not synthetic, once you open it, you have to keep it in the refrigerator because there's no preservatives in here. It is just maple syrup. It will mold. Ask me how I know, because I do know. I had to do some research to figure out how I can save my maple syrup once it got mold. And it was so simple. All you have to do is dump this into a pan, skim off all of the mold, because the mold's just going to sit on the top. Skim off all the mold, heat it up in a pan, a low temperature, until it comes to a boil. Let it boil, simmer boil, not over boiling, a simmer boil for 10 minutes. Once it cools off, it's going to have a film on the top because it is a sweetener, and its sweetener will froth. Just skim off whatever is on top, let it cool, put it back in your clean, sterilized jar, and put it in the refrigerator once it's cool completely. Do not throw away your maple syrup if it has mold on it. There is a way to save it. This is real maple syrup. Maple syrup will mold. Keep it in your refrigerator. So that's the starter. And the yogurt's going to go in the refrigerator. Now I have 7 days worth of yogurt plus my yogurt starter in the refrigerator. Maple syrup needs to go back. So we got our pizzas made, we got our yogurt done. Let's move on to the next step. So I went on the internet and shopped all the local grocery stores in my area to see who had chicken breast on sale. I can my own chicken so the husband can have a quick, easy meal so he can make his chicken salad with. And I only have 2 jars left. That is unacceptable. So I went on the internet and I checked all the prices, and Kroger in my area had chicken breasts for $1.99 a pound. No, that is not cheap by any means. But regular price, it was $2.79, so that saved me 80 cents a pound. Limit was 5 of the big trays, so I did pick up 5. I'm going to try to go back before the sale ends and pick up 5 more if I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get these cut. I already have all of my jars washed and ready to go. This is a cold pack, which means the chicken is cold, the jars are cold, and the canner is going to be cold. So everything will come up to temperature at the same time, and then pressure. Because I am doing mine in pints, they have to be under pressure for 75 minutes. Quart is 90 minutes. Make sure your hands are clean, your jars are clean, cutting board's clean, and my bowl is clean. Doesn't need to be sterilized, but it needs to be clean. And I'm cutting them about maybe 3/4 of an inch cubes. Alright, so let me just go ahead and get all of my chicken cut up. And then we'll go ahead and get these in the jars and in the canner. I do try to remove as much fat as I can, only because that just makes it greasy. Now the leftover fat that I have cut off of the chicken, I am not going to throw that away. I'm actually going to put this in the freezer in my scrap bag. So the next time we need to make chicken stock, this is going to add some flavor. So I got the scraps from cutting up this chicken. So we have all the chicken cut up. We're going to go ahead and start sticking them in our jars. I prefer the wide mouth pint jars over the regular mouth pint jars for chicken because it's straight in, so the chicken comes out without having to dig it out, and I love these. But I only have 13 empty wide mouth pint jars right now, so I'm going to have to use some regular mouth. But I was looking at the price while I was at Kroger getting the chicken yesterday. I was looking at the price of mason jars there. For a case of wide mouth pint jars was $19. That is insane. As soon as Azure gets their jars in stock, I will be buying jars from Azure from now on. Because if I have to buy jars at a premium price, I'd rather have their jars because I love Azure Standard on everything, and I'm sure their jars are going to be as equal or better quality than the ones I could get in my local store. I'm not paying $19 for a case of jars unless it's going to be Azure. I'm just saying. Come on, Azure, get them jars on the ready. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and pack these. Now we are doing a cold pack, which means, well, it's a raw pack. We're doing a raw pack. So our chicken is cut up and cubed and it's raw. We're going to add that to the jars and then we're going to can it. So the chicken is cold, the jars are cold. My canner has water in it, but I don't have fire underneath it yet because we're going to do it cold. So when you're doing cold pack, everything has to be cold. If you're doing hot pack, everything has to be hot. But because our chicken is raw, it is cold, we're doing cold pack. I ended up with 24.93, we're going to say 25 pounds of chicken. I did break off all the fat and the cartilage that was left on it. I have that in the freezer in my stock bag for future stock. So maybe I ended up with probably a little bit less than 24 pounds. For a pint jar, it takes about a pound of meat. And I'm hoping I'm going to get 24 pounds. I am going to go ahead and put everything in jars and then get one canner load, and I think I could get 16 pints in there. And the rest of them I'm just going to put in the refrigerator until I can get to the canner again. So we're going to go ahead and start packing. So I have my vinegar to clean my rims. I have my jar, my chicken, a funnel, and my debubbler. Over here I have my 4 jars lids. I have both wide mouth and regular mouth. And right here, you can't see it just out of your view, but I have my rings. Let's get started. This is messy, this is icky, but it is what it is. Not really using the debubbler to debubble because we don't have liquid in here. I'm more or less using it just to pack it down in there. We want an inch headspace. And we are there on 1. Alright, so let me go ahead and get all these jarred up and I'll bring you back when we're ready to move on to the next step, guys. Okay, so I ended up with 22 pints and then 1 half pint. So we have our vinegar. We're going to wipe the rims. Make sure we don't have no grease or chicken residue on our rims. We have our 4 jar lids. And we're just going to screw it on finger tight. And we're going to do that to everything. So let me get this all done. And then I'll bring you back when we're ready to start putting them in the canner and get this started. So I'm putting the rest of the vinegar in the water. I'm going to put my wide mouse on the bottom. Alright, so I have 8 in the bottom. visual to make sure the top is even. Crank it down. Got the heat on. Now we need to let it come up to temperature. We need steam coming out of our valve right here for 10 minutes, and then we'll put our weight on according to our altitude. I am 10 pounds of pressure. Once it comes up to pressure and it's at 10 pounds, timer starts then, and we're going to process this for 75 minutes. The rest of the jars, I'm just going to stick it in the refrigerator until we can get to this. Okay, so change of plans. I ended up having to go to work yesterday, and I had to work from 2 to around 6 o'clock, but that's okay. So I did get one batch of the chicken cooked, so I did one process. So I ended up with 16 jars, because once I found out I had to go to work, I went ahead and changed it up. I've already removed the rings and washed them, and they're now in the pantry. But I did get some more chicken, so I stopped by Kroger on the way home and picked up another 5-pack. And we got to get that all cut up and get those in jars. But I think I might have to go pick up some jars. But today, I have a new adventure. I've been on a waiting list to get in a herd share on some raw milk. So I got a notification a couple weeks ago saying that she has availability if I wanted to do it, and I said yes. So this morning was my first morning to go pick up my milk. So I took this lunch container, lunch box, whatever you want to call it, and it will hold 2 half-gallons inside. Perfect. So I went ahead and got me 2 half-gallons of raw milk. One I'm going to turn into a mozzarella. I'll bring you along with me for that. And the other one is we're going to use for yogurt. So every week I get to pick 2 half-gallon jars of raw milk, and every week we're going to be making our yogurt with the raw milk. The cows are Jerseys, which are known to be A2 milk. Now I don't know if these cows are actually A2, but I'm hoping that it won't cause any inflammation on me, but the only way we're going to find out is just to get in there and do it. So we're going to be making some yogurt with one of these. But in the meantime, they need to go into the refrigerator. And I don't know if you can see, but right there is the cream line. I'm actually going to save the cream. And I'm going to put that in a glass container, and I'm going to stick that in the freezer. I'm going to try to stop buying heavy cream. I want to use the raw cream as my heavy cream for whipped cream or Alfredo or anything that I use. For anything that I make that takes heavy cream, I'm going to see if we can use that instead. I need to put my ice packs back in the freezer. So today is Monday, and we're going to finish our chicken. Like I said, I bought 5 more packs of the chicken breasts. I need to get those cut so I can get another 16 in the canner. So I do have, I think, 8 from yesterday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I have 6 jars ready to go in the canner, but I'm not going to run the canner for just 6 pints. So we're going to go ahead and get whatever we have, empty pints in our pantry, and get a load started. It is going to be a very busy Monday. So we're outside. I'm actually going to sacrifice one of my potato buckets just to see what we have in there. You can tell all of the stalks have fallen over. So let's see what we have in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dump it in this barrel and pick through it and see what we have. Well, if you can tell, there is a lot of root matter in here. We have a potato. This is like treasure hunting. I'm just making sure there are no more potatoes in here. That's what we got from our first bucket. That's pretty exciting. I planted 2 potatoes in each one of these buckets. And I got a couple new potatoes. Let's take a minute and see how much it weighs. Alright, so we're going to weigh this. They gave us 12 3/4 ounces. So because these potatoes are little and they're new potatoes, I'm not going to dump the rest of them yet. I'm going to let them grow a little bit more, and then I'm going to give it another 2 months. This is actually, this was 2 months and 1 week. But we did it. We grew potatoes. That is so awesome. So that's the last batch of chicken we're going to do. So I ended up with 32.5 pints. I do have 2.5 of the big packages of chicken still in the refrigerator, but I think I'm going to make freezer meals with those. Something that I can just grab out of the freezer, thaw with its marinade and everything on it, and cook it from there. We ended up with 12 3/4 ounces of potatoes from 1 bucket. And these are like new potatoes because they are little. They're not big at all. But I'm going to cook these as new potatoes. I'm pretty excited. I'm really excited. Alright, so let me do some research and figure out what freezer meals we want to do while we're waiting on the chicken that just came out of the canner finish cooling off. We gotta let them sit there for 12 to 24 hours, so it'll probably be tomorrow morning before we get to those. But I'm happy with that. 32.5 pints. We ended up using 7.5 of the big packages. We have 2.5 still left in the refrigerator. But out of the 7.5, I calculated the pounds because the pounds are different for each one of those. I ended up using 36.91 pounds. Multiply that by the $1.99 a pound. We ended up spending $73.45, and that doesn't account for tax in my area, but we do have tax, but that is just the base price without the tax. Divide that by the 32.5 pints we have, that comes up to $2.26 per pint. And I think those cans, they may be 12 ounces. These are right around a poundish. I think they're like $1. Hold on. You know what? I'm going to look. Give me a second. Okay. So the Walmart brand, if you get the package that has the 4 individual cans together, they are 12.5 ounces. And it's $9.98 for the 4-pack. And each can would be $2.49. Ours should be right around a poundish, if not more. Yeah, right around a poundish. And ours is $2.26. We have no additives in there. We didn't add salt or any kind of preservatives. We didn't add any kind of additional broth or anything. The liquid that is in that chicken is actually natural chicken broth that was cooked out of the chicken when we were pressure canning it. So if you take $2.49 from the store, $2.26 home canned, and its ingredients, we know what's in there. So now I want to go ahead and do some quick research to see what freezer meals I can get together, and I'll bring you back when we decide what we're going to do. Alright, so since we have an empty bucket, I'm going to go ahead and plant my carrots. Now, on the little map on the bottom, on the back side, it tells me I can plant between March and May, and then again in August to October. Well, it's only June, but I don't want to have an empty bucket. I really don't have nothing else to put in this bucket, so we're just going to go for it and plant some carrots in this one bucket. And when the rest of the potatoes come out, I'm going to let them go for another 60 days, if not longer. But when the rest of the potatoes come out, we're going to plant more carrots. I'm just curious to see what this is going to do. So I have the dirt in a barrel. I'm going to go ahead and treat it with fertilizer, put it back in the same bucket, and then add our carrots. It says I have to plant in a row 12 inches apart, but because we're not doing it in ground where we have, 12 inches of area, I'm going to put 5 in this one bucket just to see what we get. So I'm going to pick through this dirt and get out all the sticks or anything that's in it, and then we're going to add a little bit of fertilizer. Still has the leaves in here from where we had the leaves on the top, but that's okay. That's a natural matter. So it'll just add a little bit more fertilizer to it. If I had to guesstimate, I would say about a half a cup of fertilizer in here. That mixed it really well. This is the same bucket we used. I'm not sure if you can see that, but they are super, super tiny. Now we're going to go ahead and water it. And we're going to come out here every morning before the sun gets high up in the sky and water it. You need to have them completely saturated, the seeds. You need to have the seeds completely saturated for them to germinate. If they dry out, they die. We don't want this to die. We want it to actually germinate. I'm actually having issues with raccoons and squirrels digging into my plants. My jalapeno peppers haven't done anything but grown about an inch, and they won't go any further. And I think it's because every morning I come out here, the dirt is dug up. So I want to make sure nothing gets into my carrots. So I'm going to take an empty flower pot and just put it on top of it. And it fits perfect. Let me show you what I just did. So I just put the empty pot right there on the top, because germinating seeds, you don't need sunlight until you start seeing the green leaves. So until we get the green leaves to come up, I'm going to keep it covered. Take it off every morning to water it. And then that way I know it's going to get germinated. Let me show you the tomatoes. Don't know if you can see it, but I have some tomatoes right there. And then I have some more. Where'd you go? And it's right there. I have a couple tomatoes. But yep, they're coming in. They're doing their thing. And that's what we want. We have a lot of blooms. We don't have a lot of tomatoes, but we do have a lot of blooms. So, fingers crossed, the Lord will bless us and give us some tomatoes. I am so excited. Can you see that? Right there. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful. Beautiful. So far I'm pretty happy with the way the garden is turning out. Let me show you the basil while I have you out here. That's also slow. You saw where we planted these? Well, 2 of these pots didn't germinate at all. And then one only got 1, and that's this one. This is the oldest one. But all of these, the little new growths that are in here, that I came back out here and did some more planting. So I'm still waiting on the basil to do its thing. But let me show you what I was talking about, the jalapeno peppers. I mean, that's all I'm getting is like one little sprig out of each one of these. And it's because every time I come out here, it's being dug up. And it's really driving me crazy. But if they don't work, that's fine, because that's just going to be a lesson learned that I really need to figure out how I can germinate them indoors when it's still a little colder, so that when I replant them outside, I actually get some plants from it. Because this is our first year doing gardening, container gardening or anything, so it's a learning process. So now we're going to go back in and see if we can go ahead and get some chicken marinated so we can get that in the freezer for easy cooking. Plus we're going to go ahead and make a honey mustard chicken for tonight's dinner with the potatoes we took out of the garden. So I went ahead and minced 10 cloves of garlic, which is about 3/4 of a bulb. So I'm going to set that aside. And since our chicken breasts are big chicken breasts, they're not organic, so they're not a normal size chicken breast. And we did catch it on sale, so that's why we went ahead and bought it. I'm going to go ahead and fillet those so they're thinner, and that way they'll be faster to thaw and cook. So this is the leftover from the last package we used to make our canned chicken. We're going to start with this one. So I just have a casserole dish right here, just so we have a place to put our chicken when we fillet it. We're going to go ahead and fillet all of them at the same time. Again, remove any of the fat that's on it, just like we did when we canned our chicken. Alright, because they are so big, they're probably about 1.5 to 2 inches thick and probably about 8 inches long. And that is just too thick. So I'm making them about 1/2 inch. And what I'm doing is I'm just laying my hand on top of it just to keep it steady and flat. Your knife has to be sharp, so please make sure your knife is sharp. And then I'm just going horizontal to the chicken, knowing where my hand is. Last thing you want to do is to slice the palm of your hand. And that piece on that one breast, I got 3 pieces from. And that is perfect for marinating and cooking. And I'm also going to cut them in half lengthwise. My cat is going crazy behind you. He's climbing up and down the kitchen table over there. He's being a silly kitty. Just removing any of the visual fats. Morty, you want to say hi to everybody? Know where your thumb is also, because when you're cutting down, you don't want that thumb to get in the way. I'm so glad we ended up saving some of this as freezer meals. That's going to come in handy when we're cooking on the grill, or if I just want to throw something in a casserole dish, and it'll just be so easy. Alright, so I'm just going to finish cutting these last 2 packages, and then I will bring you back when we're ready to start making our marinades. Alright, so I counted up all the little pieces because we filleted it, and then we cut them in half, so they're 4 to 6 pieces out of each breast, depending on the thickness of it. So what I'm planning on doing is put these in Ziploc bags with 6 pieces. So I'm going to get 10 freezer meals out of those 2.5 packages of chicken. So the recipe we've decided we're going to do today is a fajita chicken, a honey mustard chicken, sweet chili with barbecue chicken, and a teriyaki chicken. So we have 4 recipes. I have the gallon size Ziploc bags. Let's go ahead and count out 10. No, we only need 9 because we're doing 1 for dinner tonight. And we're also going to go ahead and label these. So we're going to start with the sweet chili and barbecue because that's going to be the easiest. So we're going to do 2 of those, and we're going to do 2 of the teriyaki. We're going to do 2 fajitas, 2 of the honey mustard. So I have this 8-cup measuring cup that I'm going to use to hold my bags. Alright, so the barbecue sauce is just barbecue sauce I had left over. I think it was the last time I made pork barbecue and canned it. So this was the barbecue sauce left over from that. So we're just going to use half of this along with a half a jar of the chili sauce. And then we're going to add a little bit of honey and some garlic. Let's go ahead and put our 6 pieces of chicken in here. Oh, the barbecue sauce smells so good. Alright, we're going to put half of this in here. I'm just eyeballing it. A half of the chili sauce. I'm just going to put a little bit of garlic in here. Everything's better with garlic, in my opinion. Everything is better with garlic. We're going to add a good tablespoon of honey. And mix that in really well. Make sure all the ingredients are getting mixed in there. The garlic and the honey with that barbecue sauce and chili. And we're going to freeze this. Make sure it's flat. That way it'll freeze fast and thaw fast. All right, let's work on the next one. Garlic. Now we're going to work on the fajita. Here, my cat. So we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, a half a teaspoon of cumin, and half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, some garlic, and this is some dried cilantro from last year. So we're going to put a very good pinch of cilantro in here. Because we did not use packaged sauce, we're going to add some salt and pepper. Just a pinch of each. It's really pretty. You can see the colors in that. Oh, that looks gorgeous. And we're going to have 2 of those. That was a thin piece. We'll put another piece in here. See if I got another thin piece. If that worked right there. Lime juice. Chili powder. Cumin. Smoked paprika. Garlic, salt and pepper, and cilantro. Now we're going to go ahead and do our teriyaki chicken. We need some olive oil, about 2 tablespoons. I am using a coconut aminos, but you can use soy sauce if you like. And we want about 1/4 cup. We'll add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, maybe a teaspoon. And I am using coconut sugar, but you can use brown sugar. Or you can just use regular sugar and add some molasses. We're going to do 1/4 cup of brown sugar, or in my case, coconut sugar, salt and pepper. Not too much salt because we do have a soy sauce or a coconut aminos in there, so you don't need a lot of salt. This is going to be another teriyaki. Now we're going to do the honey mustard. So I'm going to add some apple cider vinegar. We'll put about 2 tablespoons. We're going to add olive oil. 2 tablespoons. I need to go get my olive oil. Olive oil. I gotta fill my little bottle with that. This is our home canned Dijon mustard. I am going to put 2 heaping tablespoons. Some garlic, salt, and pepper, and about 1/4 of a cup of honey. Just massage this in here. Make sure that honey and that mustard gets everywhere. Now we're going to put these on a baking sheet so they will freeze flat. And they will take up less room in the freezer. Beautiful colors. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait. Barbecue season is in the air. All right, this is going to go in the freezer. Now we're going to get started on what we're having for dinner tonight. I actually have videos on our Azure drop. I'll put a link right up here on my last one because I did take you guys with me so y'all can see how our Azure drop works. And there are so many people there that you can fellowship with, if you would say, like-minded people that you can learn how to do things on your own. Like the potatoes we're having for dinner tonight. I would have never thought grow my own potatoes until I talked to a person at our Azure drop about growing potatoes. And I did it. We're having those for dinner. She also sold me some tomato starts. And you saw where I took you outside and showed you my tomato plants. I have tomatoes on my plants. And I would have never thought about this if I didn't meet Tammy at our Azure drop. Go check them out. It's awesome. It's awesome. We got the chicken on sale. We had all the other ingredients in the house that we were able to make a delicious home cooked from scratch meal. And the potatoes, we grew those ourselves. They are so good. I cannot wait until 2 or 3 more months and I'll dig into the rest of those buckets and get the potatoes out. I'm hoping they're going to be a little bit bigger and not the little new potatoes. But I want to say thank you very much for spending the day with us. Well, actually it's 2 days because we started this yesterday and I ended up having to go to work and we finished it today. But thank you so much for hanging out with me in the kitchen and in the backyard. If you would please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe. We would love to have you part of the Grammy family. And don't forget, check out Azure Standard. The link is below. Until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, friends.